Mr. Carlo De Marquis. Serdecznie zapraszam. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Emotions are everywhere. That maybe is the magic of sport. Connecting the passion, the energy of the athletes with the passion and the emotion of the fans and back to the athletes. That's maybe why we're all here in this room. Without that, it wouldn't be really a business at all. And by the way, Dzień dobry Warsaw, that's all. Before I understood only speed dating, which I have a beautiful wife, so sorry, but I'm not available. Start with something very positive. Sport is number one. It's not me saying that. There are so many reasons why more and more sport is establishing itself as number one. If music has been many times disrupted, and I can say now Spotify owns it, at least in many countries, and entertainment is being disrupted by the Netflix and initiative like that, live sport is still the content and the brands that have the more value in this market. And just how is this happening? There are so many mega deals happening now in terms of media rights. And when I say mega deals, I think NBC Olympics in the US buying the rights of the Olympic Games until 2032, which means they know what the business will be in 2032, or it means that it's a brand-defining moment to buy sport rights for big events. In Canada, Rogers bought NHL rights for 10 years. But also, not only in terms of length, Discover Eurosport bought all Olympic rights for all Europe. Now they are sub-licensing because they discover that maybe servicing all the different communities, you need to have the local voices. But also thinking BT Sport in the UK, disrupting the market and buying all the UEFA Champions League rights for such a big amount. And also on social, this guy, very handsome guy, is kind of not really owned, dominated by sport personalities. Ronaldo just reached, I think, last week or 10 days ago, 200 million followers overall. But also, it's a growing sector. The rights, the media rights, are growing, have been growing also during the recession, and they're predicted to grow more and more. Also, sport is globalizing. We have seen the US, once they saturated with the 4 top sports, the US market, they need to grow outside of the US. And if they do it, like they normally think US is like everything. So it means NBA going to play a game in London, WWE coming to Europe, NFL coming to Europe. On the other hand, especially football, but not only football, from Europe is going to Asia. Obviously the big leagues, like Premier League, Bundesliga, La Liga, Serie A, League One, need also to grow outside their countries. I mean, how many Italians can you convince to watch another Serie A game? It's done. You need to go outside. So these European leagues, but also clubs, are going to Asia. They're opening offices in Asia. I don't know, Valencia CF, a good club from Spain, has offices in Singapore, for example, which is kind of amazing if you think about it, like 5 years ago. And this is very complex to understand now. This is the revenue streams in these sport media ecosystems. Just quickly, the federation of the leagues are at the center. They kind of get money from a lot of people. They get it from the media rights holder, they get it from the brands, the sponsor, and sometimes when they organize event, also from the user directly. They redistribute the money to their participants, suppose team clubs, athletes, national. And also, you see that the brands are the one putting a lot of money in sponsoring advertising in the system. The user are normally buying tickets or merchandising or maybe paying pay TV subscription. There is one arrow missing, is the one that brings the user to buy some of the goods the brands are advertising, otherwise the whole system collapses. I'm using this schema of the ecosystem. On one end, I think you can place yourself in some of those revenue streams, I think in this room. Maybe betting is missing, and all the suppliers, we are a supplier, are obviously missing about that. But analyzing those revenue streams, you can understand where the business in sports marketing can be. And on the other end, the content flow, so from the athletes to the fans. This is a vision of a very traditional, I mean, when I was young, sport was at the stadium, on TV, and newspapers, okay? Today, it's clearly a lot different. So much change during these last years. More and more channels are available. And I call this the three disruptions of the sport media landscape. The first one is the consumption. I'm sure I don't have to explain this. The way we consume sport now, and just to use a buzzword, millennials consume sport now, is so much different from the past. There are so many channels, so many ways to consume both live sport in different ways, but also sport being consumed constantly through the day. The second one is the conversation. So if in the schema that I showed before, and traditionally it was called media because it's between the content and the fans, there is an intermediate. Those were the one speaking to the fans. Now everybody is a media company, everybody is a marketing company. Alessandro later will talk about athletes, players. They have media people. So the football clubs are hiring roles that in the past you would see with a publisher or with a newspaper. This is completely transforming. Everybody wants to have a conversation directly with the fans. So the fact that the second schema had a lot more arrows and balls, it means there's a lot more opportunity for us. Production is the third disruption. That's not completely done. I think it's quite clear if in a world in which production was thought for the live broadcast of games and writing certain articles, I don't think this is still completely happened because the production is still mostly dominated by broadcast. And if there is innovation in production, very often is happening in what is called either in-house content or original content, native content, is happening outside, if you want, the big game. Production is still done for broadcast and then you repurpose it for the other channel. But if you design it today, because you have in front all these channels you can reach the fans with, you will design it differently. And we are trying to innovate that. So, one of the, if you want, vision for digital, mobile, social that I often use is the one of the three axes of content, context, and connect. Content because more and more everybody needs to produce content to serve the fans, and more content is becoming crucial to make the difference. Joachim will have a session about storytelling, and that's a very important topic for me and also in my experience working with the big guys in sport. Content is crucial because you need to understand where the fans, the user, are consuming content, where they are, what device they're using, what the intention are, if you can. So the behavior user is basically dictating the way you bring the content to them. And that is also a crucial component. And then connect, if you want, it's the obvious one. You need to make sure nobody's left out of the conversation. And even if I'm from Torino, I'm not a Juventus fan, I'm a Torino fan. Yesterday there was a game, big emotions, 2-0, 0-2, 2-2, 4-2 at the last moment. It was amazing. This morning at breakfast I used the app we developed for BT Sport with all the live match, so I reviewed the action, then I was in face. So I wasn't reading one voice. There were so many voices telling me the different story. Obviously my friends, Juventus fans, were like, yeah, there was a penalty, blah, blah, blah. So there were so many voices out there. So connect is a crucial component. Content, context, connect. And I think I don't have a statistics to show this, but maybe you can believe me or you trust me. There is more content produced and consumed now on sport than ever. And it's a lot of opportunity for a lot of people in this room. Because if you're in the intersection of sport, marketing, media, and technology, I think you're in a really good place. So, positive message for me. So, sports storytelling. There is one sentence from 2014 innovation report from New York Times. New York Times, they kind of think, okay, we're the possibly best content producer in the world. Guess what? They discovered we're not the most read anymore. The BuzzFeed, the Huffington Post, the Vice are the one that the people consume more time. Why? I think the sentence is quite, we always talk, and that's very traditional in publishing. We think we can go home the moment we publish. Those other guys understand that that's where the real work starts. So there should be a balance between content production and making sure that that very crafted, amazing content you spend hours crafting reach the user in the right format on the right platform. And this is evolving, I would say, as we speak. I had to change my presentation because in the last week, a few things happened. What we have to realize, if you're a sport property, whatever side of the ecosystem you are, if you're a federation, a league, a club, an athlete, or if you're a brand, traditionally in the past we would say, okay, we create our own digital properties, we have a website, we create an app, that's something we control completely. We bring our content, our message to the user through those channels that we kind of control almost completely. But guess what? More and more, your content is being consumed on platforms that you don't design. And more, the content has to be on those platforms. Even if you want CMS, the content management system, now becomes something that the big guys want you to use on their platform. And this is changing also the way you need to produce content. An example, Facebook and Twitter, just following that, launched this small, maybe, very simple change in the video player in Facebook that became, this is all news, that everything is autoplay, silent, okay? So not only this revolutionized social video, because now they're back to back with YouTube in terms of video consumption, but also, if you're smart, you understand that if the user will see in a scrolling screen on mobile or whatever, your video silent for a few seconds before they decide to watch it or not, you need to change the way you produce content. Because, for example, what a lot of people are doing are now putting infographics, some writings, caption, so that the video is meaningful in the few seconds, even if it's silent. This means creating maybe another version of the video compared to the one that you use on your website and so on. And more, content and creative are getting together. Because if you can design your website and your apps, you cannot design the social platform. But what you can design is the content you put inside. So you see more, and we see more and more content being designed. So it's the, if you want, synthesis of content and creative and storytelling getting together. Another example is Snapchat Discover. I know that maybe Snapchat is just for people a lot, so like my daughters or younger than me, but Discover is something that is really, has the potential to really disrupt the way content is consumed, especially by millennials. Snapchat Discover, if you know it, is this, at the moment, close partnership channels, 12 or some, but they announced that in April they will open to more publishers or to all publishers. It's a different way of creating content. You have like kind of a magazine every day, and it's very visual, it's very fresh, you consume it, and it's done once you consume it. It's, if you know, Snapchat style. The storytelling and the way you create content, even the CNN and the big guys are creating content in a totally different way from what they would use on their own properties. And another case in which the platforms are telling you, okay, put content on us. It's instant article. So if you know what it is, Facebook have a native way of putting your content extremely designable. So you can create story with video, with interactions on their platforms. So it's not on your website, it's not on your app, it's on their platform. So you're releasing your content to them, but you make it much more appealing and simple for the user to consume it. And 2 days ago, Apple News, which is not in every country, announced that they're also opening Apple News to all publishers. So again, and they have, I haven't seen it, a back office system to create content that is very amazing, they say. So again, they are becoming not only platform, like neutral platform, like YouTube, neutral platform. I put my content there. I have my identity. They're becoming publisher themselves. They're becoming aggregator themselves. You can imagine, I think it's the social equivalent of maybe someone like a TV distribution network, Canal Plus for you, Sky for us, or BT. It's something like that. They aggregate content, they curate content, they publish content. They're taking a different place in the ecosystem. And another way of storytelling is live video that last year at South by Southwest, Meerkat and Periscope launched. Now Facebook is also on board, so everybody can now post live video. Not a lot of people are really doing it. You need to be a communicator, kind of communicator to do it. But it's another way of storytelling that is becoming increasingly powerful and more popular. So you see that if you apply this to sport, there are so many ways that you can reach your fans. Maybe even different content will go on different platforms in different formats for different users. So it's much more sophisticated. And it's obviously, I think, poses a lot of effort, need of effort on the publisher. Sorry. And look at what, for example, a club like Manchester United is doing when they post on social. In the past, what you do, you post the news on the website, and they link it and post it on Facebook, Twitter, etc., etc. Now they're creating special infographics. And I think the Liverpool United is announcing a match. The West Brom in the middle United is a result of the match. And that's the way on the left, how they publish the lineups. So it's not text. They create visual infographics because they discover that it's like 200% more shareable and more likable if you do it visual. They even, as you can notice, created their own graphic style. So the moment, and now that I'm used to it, the moment I see this kind of black and white with color pictures, I understand it Manchester United. And FC Bayern has another style. So the way they use visual to communicate their brand is really impressive. And this is something that you can do in this way, very appealing, or in this way. So infographics are needed, but you need to have some good taste to do it. And I think even Eto'o was a bit disgusted when he saw himself in the thing with all the numbers like that, right? So I think it's important that what we create takes the content, the story, and makes it beautiful for the fans and the users. And beautiful is not only aesthetic. Beautiful is what connects the emotion to the user. Very little user experience tricks or the attention you put in curating your content, selecting the right picture, putting the right statistics in content. It's important, very important in the way you create content. At Delta we created a product that is called Sportteller, just built to create storytelling in sport that mix the statistics, the video, the photos, and the editorial text in one format. Because we believe from stats, from numbers, you can create great stories. But they have to be visually appealing to create emotions. When we use this tool to replace an article style of content, very deep with statistics and telling the story every day of the golf tournament for European Tour, the traffic went up 300% and now 400%. Because people are more attracted to something that is visually emotional, more than a table, can imagine, or just an article telling the same story. One other initiative that can at least may have scared some of us in this world is Facebook saying, okay, now I own sport. It's Facebook Sports Stadium. Don't know if you heard about it. They tried it for Super Bowl, not really very successful, but I mean, they're Facebook and they have time in their hands to try and it's like the house of sport on Facebook. And every publisher, every content producer say, okay, but what's now, okay, I have my website and apps, I need to put my content on Facebook, now not even my identity on Facebook, it has to be their identity. Even here, I think we can find opportunity. We need to see how it develops, but it's another, if you want, maybe challenge, because they can really, or they're trying to own also that part of the conversation with the fans. And something that is very debated, not only in sport, is the concept of native advertising. BuzzFeed maybe is the company that introduced the concept and is making kind of a lot of money with it. If in journalism it was always church and state, so writing content and selling advertising, this is when brand narrative and the user fan interest can overlap. It's a very subtle trick, but I think the big guys like Nike, Adidas already been doing it for some years, even if it wasn't called native advertising, but it's when you find a way to mix the brand narrative with something that the user really want to share and like. That's a great opportunity if you know how to do it. And then one of, not only the Mobile Congress in Barcelona, but even the last week, South by Southwest, virtual reality is everywhere, mostly on mobile, by the way. So, which is also something that says, okay, TV is fantastic, everybody's watching TV, but the new evolution may not go directly to TV, may come first to mobile. It's some years we say mobile first. This is an evolution that may really be mobile first just because of the practicity of it. I don't know if you've tried Cardboard or Gear VR or 360 video that is now everywhere, also on Facebook and YouTube. I think there are a lot of opportunities. I'm not sure in sport how VR can change the consumption. For sure now it's, depending on the sport. The sport context changes a lot of the values. And saying that we put VR in, I don't know, football and we can watch where they're going, maybe it's not the best experience. In other sports, maybe the great experience. I can imagine boxing in VR. It's a bit scary, but I don't know where to put the camera, but they find ways. So in terms of sport marketing, this is like a clean field. We need to invent, we need to create ways to use it for sport marketing purposes. But I think, again, nobody has done a lot, so if we're smart, we can do a lot. Smart venues. I think smart venues is the place where everything happens together, so you can mix digital, mobile, social, and the physical experience. Because more and more, even in retail, not in sport, in retail, mixing digital and physical is where you close the circle. This is the Levi Stadium, or Levi Stadium as we say in Italy, San Francisco 49ers, where the Super Bowl was played, and it's done by Venue Next. It's really the experience at the stadium as if you're a native, digital native, you would expect. Everything is digital, mobile, social is used to make your life easy, to make sport more entertaining, and to really change the experience in a positive way. Very often, not giving you advertising, but giving you service. So it's easier to order food, it's easier to enter, you're welcome if you're a subscriber, maybe with the less photo that you post on Facebook, with your family, if you want it. So there is a connection between you and the stadium that is more of what we're used to see today. And finally, maybe one of the black holes of marketing, messenger apps. I know that maybe in Poland WhatsApp is not as popular as it is, for example, in Italy, but that's a place where brands, and it's not only WhatsApp, it's Facebook Messenger and blah, 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 blah. That's a place where brands still haven't found the right way to enter. And if it's Snapchat, they kind of found the way, maybe, but in more traditional, clean messenger apps, which is the place where people spend a lot of time, even, maybe those are the real second screen, not the one that a company like us or others have tried to create. A lot of people create a group on WhatsApp and comment the games between friends. That's one of the biggest use cases of second screen. But how do we as a brand or sport program enter that world? I think they will find ways. One way that is a bit coming from my geek friends is using bots. You know what bots are? So it's like intelligent autoresponder that you invite to your group, and depending what it is, can give you in the conversation statistics, infographics. It participates to the conversation is an artificial intelligent, if you want, sport bot. I don't know, that could be the easiest way to enter this space. I think it's very interesting because there is a lot to do. If you really enter the conversation in a group of friends, that's the best place to be as a brand. But are the sponsors happy? Maybe there are sponsors. I know Johanna from Finland is there. She has a lot of money to spend, so go to her. Are they happy? Yes and no. I know that the traditional big sponsors for the big sport events are starting to feel a bit not so happy. Pay TV audience, fantastic. The rights are up the roof. But in Italy, I think this year the Champions League audience was around 2 million, more or less, which in a country like Italy of 60 million, it's very small. If you're a brand associated with, for example, UEFA Champions League, you're reaching 2 million audience in Italy. That's not enough. So what is the alternative? Maybe every federation, every right owner will have direct-to-consumer digital channels. So you say, okay, let's go there. But do you really have already a digital platform that substitutes TV? Not really. Do this big federation create content, especially for a sponsor? Not really, and that's a big thing that has to change. Because they create content for the media rights holders, that's the business, but why not for the sponsor? I think this is something where there is a lot of innovation and in production that can change. And maybe even the way the rights are written have to be a bit different. The fact that it's still very difficult to share the little moment of sport on social because of rights. I don't think it's doing globally the ecosystem really well, but even as a media rights holder, it's buy the rights, and it's very difficult for me to share the, 5 seconds of emotion, because I have to be careful that it doesn't go in another territory. I think I'm diminishing, or I'm limiting the distribution and the share, the viral power of my content. So I think that rights is also an area where there should be some innovation. Also because the brands don't want association anymore. They want to go direct to fan. They want direct to fan engagement. I think that's something that is clear to everybody, but it's still in the more protected events a bit difficult. And I think this will change, and I think companies and people in this room can help to innovate that. So I think we need a bit of reboot, and there is a moment now where we can really make an impact if we think a bit different from the traditional schema and try to innovate in sport marketing. There's a sentence that from Ryan Giggs, Welsh player who played a lot of years for Manchester United, that represent a bit, if you want, I see myself a lot in this. So if you work in sport, it can never be the same. If you stand still, you're going backward. You need to continuously innovate. You're never satisfied. And that's not bad. I mean, being never satisfied is not a good thing personally maybe, but trying always to go to the next thing, because that's what the market wants. They always ask you, okay, we did it 2 years ago, now what? This is a mind shift that has to happen, I think, and it's very important. I didn't want to talk about my company a lot. I just show you a 1-minute video. So I'm Karl Marcus, Chief Product and Marketing Officer at Delta Train. You can find me on Twitter at CDM. Thank you so much. Thank you, Warsaw.
Ponieważ pan Carlo skończył troszkę szybciej niż przewidzieliśmy w scenariuszu.